What's going on, everybody? KingofDragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman Arkham Origins Deathstroke. And so here we have Deathstroke posed and out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's actually see what Deathstroke comes with. Deathstroke unfortunately only comes with one accessory, and that is his sword, which he does hold really nicely in his right hand, and it does fit inside his scabbard. Unfortunately, the scabbard doesn't really look that good. He also comes with the McFarlane display base. Other than that, Deathstroke here doesn't come with anything else, so let's move on to his details. And so here we have a closer look at Deathstroke, and I have to say McFarlane has knocked it out of the park with this sculpt work on here. Deathstroke is a really detailed figure. With that being said, I do have to mention that he is lacking in the paint department. Now we'll get into that as we look through his details right now. But overall, the sculpt on Deathstroke is really, really good, and I really love the way he looks. Deathstroke here does have a really nice look to him. There's a lot to love about this figure, and like I said, out of all the complaints I have with him, it's mainly just the paint. The paint is the only thing I have an issue with this particular Deathstroke. Now, the sculpt is actually really accurate to the game. I really do love how smooth the orange side is. The eye could be a little bit more realistic, but it does look good. And then you can see all the texturing right here on the right side of his mask, which does look really nice. Now, you can see there are a lot of scrapes, scratches all throughout Deathstroke's helmet here. They're not painted. In the video game, his armor is a lot more distressed than this figure is letting on. Now, the distress marks would be obvious with this being silver. There would be some silver poking through, some scuffs everywhere. His armor is relatively clean despite the fact it looks battle hardened. Like, there's a lot of little details that should be highlighted here, especially in the helmet. The helmet should also be three tones. We should have the dark blue, the orange, and then some black accents. Unfortunately, that black is non-existent on this figure. There are some black parts on him, but he needs to have more black, and it's really apparent when you have a look at the figure as a whole. So looking at his chest here, you can see more details where we would have silver poking through and some discoloration in the armor. It's relatively clean despite the fact you can obviously see it's missing chunks. It's all scarred up and torn up. I think McFarlane kind of dropped the ball with this figure when it comes to paint, because there are some spots that didn't even get painted. You can see right here on the right side, all the scale mail did get nicely painted. On the left side here, you can see that the scale mail didn't get completed all the way up, and it's not just on my figure. A lot of Deathstrokes have this issue where the scale mail on the left side didn't even get painted up here by his chest, and that is really unfortunate because the sculpt work is all there. You can see it's nice sculpted, just no paint. I also feel like the lack of paint on some of the straps hurts this figure. You can see a strap right here that's unpainted going on to this side. Another strap that is completely unpainted despite the fact I think it should be black, just like it is right here. So yeah, this figure has a lot of details on it, but it's missing color. And just how I mentioned, there's a lot of blue. There's this collar piece right here going along his chest plate going into the back. It should actually be black. You can see where the Kevlar would be on his armor plating, and then right here it's not black as it should be, which is a little bit unfortunate. I honestly feel the cap right here should also be black, because his sleeve right here, you can see it is molded. Actually, I think it's painted black, honestly. But yeah, you can see there is some black right here. No, I think that's actually molded in black, so that's probably why that's black while everything else isn't. Unfortunately, we do have that black and silver. And it's even black right here on the inside of his gauntlet here, even though it shouldn't be. The only black part should honestly be those straps right there. This should actually be like a blue, where this is, it should actually match the outside of his gauntlet. So yeah, more discoloration marks, but it's just the sculpt. Even here on his left shoulder. These are actually shotgun shells, and the tips should be gold, and the tips right here should be red. The strap going along it should be black. So yeah, Deathstroke here is missing a lot of paint, especially here on the back. You can see more tearing and some scarring on his armor. The scabbard right here does look good from the back. I'll give it that. The back scabbard looks good, but when you see it from the front, you can see the sword is exposed. That's not the way it's supposed to be. That's probably why I will probably have Deathstroke holding the sword, because it just looks bad in the scabbard. Really do like the pouches, but the pouches are lacking paint. They're actually not supposed to be just flat black. They are supposed to have some detail on it. Same with the grenade. I believe the grenade should be a gunmetal, so we're missing some paint there. The clip on his utility belt is also not painted properly. So a lot of missed opportunity here on Deathstroke. Where the paint is, it's clean, but his armor is a little bit too clean. I don't get why they made his armor so clean. They should have thrown in, like, even a wash would have been nice on this figure, but he doesn't even get that. We do have another pouch here with, again, straps unpainted. The clip right there isn't painted at all. We do have more clips right here that go around the leg, and again, those are painted. So the reason why he doesn't have black in some areas, we can't say it's because they ran out of paint, because there are some black paint on him. I really don't like that his gun is molded in the holster. Just like with the Grim Knight, we do have that gun which is molded, and that really upsets me, because now Deathstroke has a gun that he can't really use, and he is lacking in the accessory department. Knee pads, really great sculpt, but as everything else on this figure is lacking paint, which kind of irritates me because it's a really beautiful sculpt, and even the straps right here on the back of his armor aren't painted, and it boggles my mind how we have paint in some areas and then not in others. So McFarlane kind of dropped the ball on this one when it comes to paint, because these are supposed to be black. The little diamond weave pattern right here is accurate and is blue, but again, missing some distress and some silver paint. Oh, McFarlane did a really good job with the sculpt, but I feel like the marker was missed with the paint. Everything on this figure looks beautiful, and a little bit of paint would actually bring out a lot more detail on Deathstroke here, so I'm kind of upset that McFarlane missed the mark with the paint applications, because it's a beautiful sculpted piece, but we are missing a lot of paint, unfortunately. So with his details out of the way, let's actually get him compared to other figures you may have in your collection. So here we have Deathstroke posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Deathstroke posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. And finally, here we have Deathstroke posed next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually move on to his articulation. Now, Deathstroke here does have some pretty good articulation, although he is hindered in some areas, which we'll go over that. He does have a double ball joint here in the head, which does let him look up about that far, which is acceptable for Deathstroke. He can look down, he can tilt his head to the side and to the other side. Really good movement there. Does turn left and right, and I do like the fact that his bandana is a softer plastic, so it doesn't get in the way. Really like his butterfly joint. I think it's actually one of McFarlane's better butterfly joints. You can see it goes really far back, comes really, not really far forward, but it comes forward better than most figures, so really do like that. Does pivot down, does pivot up, so I do like that. Goes all the way out to the side, despite the fact he has this shoulder pad, and I really like the fact that they connected the shoulder pad to the bicep, because that allows the shoulder pad to go up and over the shoulder piece right there, and it's a soft plastic, so it will get out of the way. We do have a bicep swivel, which does kind of get a little bit hindered because the armor will hit the chest plate and the back plate depending on how you have it posed, but it's a little sacrifice that I'm okay with for functioning shoulder armor, and it actually works pretty good. We do have a double bend here at the elbow, giving us much better than 90 degrees, almost 180 degrees, so I really do like that. He has a ball and hinge here at the wrist, so it does have in and out movement, and you can rotate that to have up and down movement. He does have a trigger finger here, despite the fact not having a gun, which is a little bit unfortunate. Now, this is where McFarlane sacrificed aesthetic for articulation. We don't have any type of articulation here in his torso, right here in the chest, which is a little bit unfortunate. And it is a little bit odd because you can see they made his torso out of a really soft plastic, so you would think that he would have some kind of abdomen articulation hidden underneath this soft piece of overlay. He doesn't, which is kind of odd, but he does have a really nice ball joint here at the waist. And if you don't think it's a really nice ball joint, just look at how far to the side he bends. That's really impressive for a ball joint. Look at that. Goes all the way to the side. Going forward, really good range going forward, despite the fact it's all just down here. Going back, no problem. Rotates at the waist. So even though he is missing a traditional ab crunch, that ball joint right there gives us a lot of articulation. But you do want to be careful, because if you're pressing on his rubber piece right here for his crotch, you might press it up against his armor plate, so it does hinder movement. Easy way is just to move him from the torso and the legs. That would be the easiest way to do it. So he has really good range here in the torso. Legs going all the way forward, no problem. Going all the way back. Does go out to the side. No problem at all for the Terminator here. We do have a very limited thigh swivel, but it is a thigh swivel nonetheless, so that does work. This is another point where I do have to point out that his articulation is limited. Now, you can see he has pins right here for a double jointed knee. He only has a single jointed knee because of the way his entire armor is sculpted. Now, it does bend all the way with the bottom joint. That's no problem. But that's as far as his leg goes back on the top joint. Now, I'm actually going to zoom in right here just so you can see. There is some stress marks right here when I try to bend the knee. What's going on is, as you try to bend the knee, you can see that the top part is clashing right up here. Now, there's one or two ways you can fix that. You can shave the knee down right here just to give it a little more bend. You can heat it up just to get it past there, but then you're still going to run into that problem of his knee not bending all the way. And yes, you can see it is stressed right there. And it's also stressed on this side. So his knee pad actually does hinder articulation, which is a little bit unfortunate, because this figure should move even better if the armor wasn't designed that way. He does have rotation here at the foot, does have a hinge which goes that far back, that far forward. We have forward facing pin for rocker ankle, and we can rotate that peg for a true rocker ankle. And then we have a toe hinge. So overall, Deathstroke here has some pretty good articulation, some questionable choices, but overall he still looks really good. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get him posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have the McFarlane Arkham Origins Deathstroke pose for my final thoughts. And overall, McFarlane has done an amazing job with the sculpt. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. The sculpt is so crisp, it is crispy, and I really love the way he looks. Now, that isn't to say he isn't without his problems. I kind of wish that he did have an abdomen joint in his middle chest. I wish the knee armor didn't hinder that double jointed knee. And of course, I really do think this figure does suffer from a lack of paint. Now, there's nothing wrong with the type of plastic that they chose for this figure, but he is missing a lot of paint, despite the fact he has numerous points where the sculpt indicates that he should have wear and tear on his armor. Despite that, I still think this is one of the better Deathstroke figures to own in your collection. With a little bit of modification, this can be an amazing figure, and this is actually one figure that I do plan on altering at some point. I'm going to get some silver paint, some metallic blue, and see where it goes, because this does look like a really good figure. Now, the only thing it needs is a little bit of paint to make it a great figure. If you can get past the lack of paint, this is still a really solid release. Now, he is missing some accessories. I think a bow staff and a gun would have added to this figure. But having a sword, that's kind of what Deathstroke is about these days. Still, the gun would have been welcomed. I think he would have had a really good batch of accessories that they went with the bow staff and the handgun along with the sword. But I see where McFarlane was going with the display options and not having storage for those weapons. Still not an excuse for not including them, because I think having more weapons is better than having less. But overall, I still recommend Deathstroke. If you're a fan of the Arkham Knight or Arkham series, this is a really good representation. And seeing as how the DC Collectibles Deathstroke is very expensive now, this is a really good substitute. I think you'll be happy with this figure. With that being said, guys, I'm King of Dragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go check out all my other action figure reviews as well as all my other DC Multiverse videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments. And if it's in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos. And as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.